Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Tome Travelers, a sci-fi fantasy book club where we talk about books, and it's a new month. It's a new book. What book are we cracking open this month, Whitson?
Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson.
Oh, I'm so excited. I've
Yeah, I
been,
think we all are.
yeah, I've been talking about this book. In fact, this was the original book I wanted to do for the podcast, but Whitson kind of talked me into doing the blade itself first. But I'm glad he did. I'm glad he did. So this week, or this episode, we are only going to be talking about Prologue to Chapter 1. Very introductory, first thoughts on the books and things like that. So there is a spoiler warning for Prologue and Chapter 1. Leave the comments spoiler-free up to Chapter 1. So anything past that, please do not spoil anything. We want to be able to have fun discussions and things like that in the comments of the YouTube video with the community, so let's not spoil things for anyone. Also, at the end of this episode, we are going to do a little segment where we talk about Cosmere tie-ins. Sanderson is known for this epic universe where he has like different elements of worlds and things tying in with each other, and so we're going to try and stay away from that in the main podcast, so that way if you've never read any Sanderson before and this is your first book, you can feel like nothing's going to get spoiled and be able to sail on through with us, and click off at the end of the podcast whenever we go into that. But that will be a discussion happening at the end of the episode, and I'm really excited about it. So before we get into this first episode, Dylan, what is our fantasy question of the episode?
So, our fantasy question this week is, if you could live in any fantasy world, which fantasy world would you live in? And I thought for a while about this one, and there's so many good ones. We were like all sitting here, Matt would say one, we'd be like, "Oh, that'd be great," and then Whitson would say one, it's like, "Oh, that's another good one." But I finally decided on Aglasia from or however you say that, but it's the world from Aragon, the Aragon books, dragons and magic.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
It's beautiful.
I like
Yeah,
it.
that's not a bad choice. I mean, it was like near apocalypse last time I was reading those books, but
Yeah.
they're dragons,
Well,
which is cool.
I'm wanting to go before the evil dragon rider.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the movie didn't do it justice.
Yeah. Before Galbatorix.
Yeah. What about you, Whitson?
So I followed Dylan's lead from last episode, and I went with a non-fantasy novel world. I chose the Four Nations from Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh,
It's just I remember being a little kid seeing it and just thinking it was the most fantastic thing I'd ever seen. Like,
oh yeah.
I've always thought that I would be a firebender, but then I'd probably be a boring earthbender.
It's because of the red hair, right?
Yeah, well, yeah.
So if is that what nation you would want to be brought up in to be a firebender, or do you have a other preference?
I just think it would be the coolest bending ability to have. But no, I think I'd probably be.
I just want to do it for the
I'd
lightning.
probably be Earth Nation.
Yeah.
Like I don't even think fire is the coolest. It's just like I'd want to do the lightning. So
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, MD?
So I'm gonna be basic here. I'm gonna go with the Shire, so Middle Earth, but specifically the Shire, because there are parts of Middle Earth that I do not want to live in.
Yeah.
But
I want to go to Mordor.
yeah, exactly. But like the Shire, like second breakfast, you're always partying. It's a good time. You live in these little like huts that are built into the ground. I just love everything about the Shire, and I just want to stay there forever. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's a very romantic setting.
yeah, very much so.
Okay.
Well, that's without any further ado, we can jump into episode 4 of the Tome Travelers. Woo! Okay, so I'll give a little brief synopsis of kind of what all we read and stuff like that, and then we're just gonna jump into it and go big. So we read the prologue in chapter 1 of Warbreaker. In the prologue, we meet this guy named Vasher, and he's in prison, and we're like, why is he in prison? And he talks about how he beat up a
Priest.
priest. Yeah, I was going to say religious figure. Same thing. He beat up a priest, and was like, you're like, oh no, why'd he do that? And then you're like, wait, he actually was trying to go to jail. So he goes to jail and he ends up escaping in order to go find a prisoner in jail who he then steals breath from. And we'll get into that in a little bit. He steals his breath and then kind of fades to black. Oh, we also learn about a rebellion during that time. And go on to chapter 1. We meet Ciri, the princess of Idris. And she's kind of like this free, loves life, gets to do what she wants. She likes not being important because she gets to get away with things. And we meet her, and apparently her older sister is in a engagement to go to marry the god king of a distant land or whatever. But at the last minute, Daedalin, the king of Idris, sends Ciri in place of her sister Vivenna, which is the big twist at the beginning of the book. And so
Didn't
that
seem like
kind
a
of
very hard choice either.
yeah, that's the brief synopsis of it. So let's talk like first impressions. Did you guys enjoy the little section of literature that we had?
Well, it's brought up like quite a few questions for me, which is usually a good thing. Like I definitely want to keep reading it. I'm really curious about like the systems and like why there's a sentient sword that's killing people of its own volition anytime it's drawn, apparently. And then like how color fuels the magic. That's really like only Sanderson could come up with this shit, I swear.
Right.
Like, I'm sure it's going to be interesting and like really involved because all of his magic systems are. But yeah, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
And I have some opinions about Daedalin, but otherwise I'm just curious. I just have a lot of questions.
Okay. What about you, Dylan? What were your first impressions?
Man, I am looking so forward to it. I'm loving it. Me and Matt obviously know a lot more about the Cosmere than Whitson, and so like I'm seeing shit that I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I know what's going on, and then it's like I really love the breath system, and like I feel like reading this book is going to explain more about the Way of Kings or the Stormlight Archive books
Right.
that we're all reading right now, and I think that's another reason we're all like really into this one is because it's a book we're all reading, or it relates to a book we're all reading.
Right.
So
yeah.
I'm really looking forward to it.
So yeah.
Where are you at on it?
Oh, I absolutely adore this book. So this is my second time reading this book. I read it.
Okay.
I read it once already about a year and a half ago. It was my very first ever Sanderson book, and it's what kind of sparked my, love for the Cosmere. And so this is going in on my second reread, and I'm already seeing things that I didn't see before, and it's making me really excited. So I'm just so excited.
This section,
Oh,
you've
yeah.
seen things that tie in, and
Oh yeah.
Oh, there's
Okay,
so
wow.
much. There's so much.
So for those of you who don't know, this book, Warbreaker, is set on its own planet and its own system in the greater works of the Cosmere. So it's not like there's a prerequisite to this book or you have to read another book after it. It's a solo book.
Standalone.
But
Yep.
I really just love how Sanderson ties things together as a whole. So, and I think this book is like the cherry on top. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. So I have one before we get into characters. I have
Okay.
one question. What the hell does banging a pot with your knife tell you about what is in the pot?
Well, they were talking about sound, man. Maybe that's got something to do with it. Like he can hear how the stuff's mixing together. I mean, I don't know. We can get as deep as you want, probably coming up with
Well,
bullshit.
I've been a chef for quite a long time, and I've never seen anyone bang a knife against a pot.
Maybe you should try it.
Yeah, it might be a new
Yeah,
technique.
maybe Sanderson knows something about cooking that I'm unaware of.
We don't know the rules of cooking yet in this universe. So.
Oh yeah, you think the physics of stew are different?
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, let's get into it. Let's get into Vasher.
Yeah. Okay.
Like you said, he's obviously in prison on purpose, trying to get these breaths. He says he used to have a lot of them, but now he's like down to 50, and he's trying to get more. But then it says that each person is born with one breath, and then so like how are these people getting more, you know?
Right.
Yeah,
So
that's one of my questions. Oh, sorry, MD. Go
no,
ahead.
well, I was gonna say, so the way that it's kind of like basically set up in here is every person is born with one breath, and you can willingly give your breath away to someone, and it would obviously, if I gave my breath to Whitson, he'd now have two breaths. You know what I'm saying? And you can use your breath to do things. We've seen a
Right.
little bit of what it's able to do, but I'm sure there's
Yep.
also some other stuff that we'll be able to see. So, so that's just kind of like how the breath works. So we know that Vasher has gone on to accumulate 50 breaths. Although I think it said that he didn't take it from individual people.
Yeah, well, he said he
Yep.
used to have a lot more,
Right.
but now he's down to 50, and he could have jumped back up to the fifth heightening, I believe he said. And he said he's just in the first heightening right now, but to do that, he would have to make some choices that he doesn't want to make, and so he's stuck taking breaths like we see him take from Var, which is the guy in the prison.
Right. Who's also a leader of a rebellion that
Right,
just
against
failed.
Hallandrin.
Hallandrin, yes.
Yeah, Hallandrin.
Which
That's what it was.
so how do you feel about that? How do you feel about Vasher's bargaining with him? He said, "I'll give you a quick and painless death."
I mean, it
And
was ruthless.
yeah.
But I mean, it's also it's showing mercy too. Well, I guess
Yeah, well,
not
yeah.
technically, because he's like, well, if you don't give me this, I'm just gonna leave you.
Yeah,
But
I'm assuming that he's going to be some kind of anti-hero. Like,
well,
that's just the vibe I get from him. He's going to be
yeah.
like a really grayscale, like anti-hero type character.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm assuming just from the way everyone's acting that the God King is bad, and he's obviously the one that rules Hallandrin.
Right.
And it said he's in the ninth height. He's like the most powerful person there is.
Right. He has the most
Um,
breaths.
Right, most breaths. And that these people that have these breaths, like higher breaths, they're called awakeners
I think
Yeah,
or
that's right.
something.
yeah, I
Yes,
think that's
yeah.
what it was.
And that the country of Hallandrin uh, is like the only place around that really accepts these people, which I thought was interesting. So it sounds like why, if these people are so powerful, does no one else want them to be a part of their country?
Yeah, that's one question that I had pop up. And then one of the other ones that I had is like, so it like briefly mentions these like undead soldiers that have been awakened, and
Lifeless
then
servants.
yeah, the lifeless
Yeah, yeah,
servants, or
yeah.
I'm assuming they're undead
Oh
because
yeah,
I
they
think
said
it
in
said they
his
were
army of the
corpses.
lifeless.
Yeah, well, okay,
Yeah.
so the way it describes Hallandrin is land of returned gods, lifeless servants, biochromatic research, and color.
Yeah. Well, then it also said that a stillborn child would turn into one of the returned gods.
So maybe it's like taking over the body or something?
M-
Like a
Yeah,
reincarnation
maybe.
deal?
I'll let you all speculate.
Yeah, I
This is
don't.
really fun for me.
That's something I'm really curious to see explained, and then I want to see how Vasher like fell from grace
Yeah.
and like what the choices are he's avoiding. Like, can he get to the heightenings without doing them at all, and then that's what he's trying to do, or yeah, I don't know. I want to see that develop. Then also this damn sword. I want. I wrote in our notes,
Uh,
our show notes. I wrote, it reminds me of the sword from Driz, the Kazadhi, the
yeah.
sword that makes his Wolfguard. Well, anyways, one of the characters in the Drizzt books has a sword that tries to turn people evil, and that was the first thing I thought of when it popped up. But like, I want to see if like it's one of the awakened things. Like somehow it just got a shit ton of breath pumped into it, and now it's like fully sentient.
Like
Okay.
someone put enough breath to bring it alive. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I've got a lot of questions about that. Honestly, the prologue gave me a lot more to chew on than chapter one.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I agree
why
with that.
I think that's when we were talking in our last book about how the prologue of that book wasn't really a prologue. I always think of a prologue like this, where it's like
Yeah.
it has this epic scene of like, we're gonna give you the world, and here's the world, and you're like, whoa, breath, rebellion, king, like lifeless, like what are all of these things?
Yeah.
And then you kind of jump into a story with some exposition and some background information. So it's like you're promised of this epicness, and now you get to go on the journey of learning about it. And that's what really excites me about Sanderson in this book.
Yeah, here's a bunch of questions. Let's answer them. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So what did you guys think of Siri?
Yeah, going into chapter 1.
Yeah. Well, okay, you already know about Siri.
Right.
What did you think about Siri, Dylan?
So like Matt was saying, she seems pretty carefree and just like kind of is cool with standing in the background, which it seems like their whole culture is about standing in the background and like not standing out, not like just being one of the masses, and like that's like their religion, I guess. And then it's so like if you try to stand out at all, which it seems like she does, because it talks about how she can't control her hair and she gets all these colorful flowers and stuff. And so if you stand out, it's seen as being like really vain and looked down upon.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like she doesn't care about that at all. Uh, so I
Yeah,
don't
it
know.
seems like she thinks they need a little vanity, a little
Yeah,
color
Yeah.
in their life.
yeah. Well, I'm
She-
wondering like why I'm wondering about the color stuff anyways, because it's like right or in Idris or they're like color's bad, but then in Haladrin they're like color if you don't have color like you're not they call a Vosher a colorless fool. So I'm assuming that's a slur, a colorless. So it seems like the exact
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Siri gives me the same type of vibe as Merida from Brave, where like she's just like writing
oh,
out.
the Disney,
Yeah,
The
the
Disney
yeah,
Pixar
yeah, yeah.
movie, where she's always just like writing out, like trying to like escape and then come back and like hide the fact that she just slipped out or whatever. And
yeah.
she just
Yeah,
gives
I
me
can
that kind of
definitely see
vibe.
that.
Yeah.
So
Well, how do you think she's gonna fare in Halandron? Because I have some theories.
I mean, I feel like she's probably gonna be. Maybe it's me being hopeful, but she's gonna be strong-willed and she's gonna like turn it on its head, and or maybe even the God King's not as bad as everyone thinks. Probably not, but maybe.
Well, I'm really hoping we don't have to see any like horrible scenes with this guy. I'm assuming this God King is old, if not like immortal or something, and she's 17. So like there's some problematic shit going down. All right, I hope we don't have to read
Right.
anything horrible. I
Well-
can't imagine Sanderson would write something horrible like that.
right. Well, like talking about Siri and like going to the God King or whatever. You also have to talk about Vivenna, who was supposed to go, and it was kind of like implied with this treaty.
Yeah.
But because of a loophole, instead of sending Vivenna, who had been, I think it said, was trained her whole life for this. Like
Yeah.
even when she was in the meeting with her dad, was like, "It's okay, Father. I'm ready. I've prepared for my life for this or whatever." And even then, the king's like, I would not miss Siri. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
So
Yeah, I read
like-
that and I was like, God, this guy's a horrible father.
He's like, he's like, you're the perfect daughter. Meanwhile, Siri's the only person. He even says like she's the only one that pisses me off. Like she,
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
I don't
basically.
like her, basically.
Well, it said that their hair like it changes based on their kind of emotions
Emotion,
sometimes.
yeah.
And they said Vivina was extremely well. She's so well capable of being able to like control it, whereas Siri just expresses herself. You know what I'm saying? And so that kind of almost implies that Vivina trained her whole life to kind of like hide some emotions, right? So that way,
Yeah.
whenever this event occurs, she's ready to kind of, be this daughter given up to the God King or whatever. But
Yeah.
instead, last minute decision, plot twist, we're going to send Siri instead. So how do you feel about Daedalin about that?
Well, so really quickly on Siri, that's what I was getting at. I have some theories on that because the Vivina is like insanely reserved
Right.
and like regressive, and I think it would have been like death for her to go to Halandrin, but then Siri is this person who loves color and like wants to be vibrant and expressive. So like assuming, which is not a safe assumption at all, that the God King is not going to be a complete dickhead to her. I almost
You might
feel
favor
like
well there.
I almost feel like
Yeah.
she's going to do well there.
So my theory with it is like, why does the God King want this random person from a random city to be his kid, and it makes me think something about like maybe there's something good in their blood, and that's why their hair's like that. Because
Yeah, they did say
colors,
the bloodline,
yeah, well, color's
Yeah.
obviously important, and so like
right?
if their hair changes color, like that could be like they could have like old good blood or old god blood or something like that.
Right. So I'm pretty sure it did say, um, like Ciri and Vivenna, their family are like the royal bloodline. They have like the
Yeah,
royal bloodline, which
and they
lets
like
them
ran away or something.
right.
Yeah,
And
they fled into
they
the High
fled.
Kingdoms or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And so they, this God King and Hallandrin, they want a more legitimate claim to the throne. So they want to get the royal blood into that kind of bloodline.
Mhm.
I think that was
Yeah.
kind of, I think that was
Yeah,
explained. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that is what it said. And like, well, okay, one of the things that came up in Daedalin's meeting with his commander or whatever it was, the soldier, was the mini war, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming that's like a world war that was the thing that shoved them up into the mountains, or up into the northern kingdoms. But I'm curious to see like what comes of
Well,
that.
it sounds like the God King is like the king of everywhere except maybe Idris because they're talking about how like he still sees us as rebels
Oh
and
yeah, like maybe he's like a Final Empire kind of guy.
Yeah.
holding out. Yeah,
Almost like they're trying to establish an empire and they need the royal blood to
yeah,
fully
fully like
get
get
the
full
support of
support.
everyone, or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, or to say that their family has some kind of divine calling to rule, or whatever excuse they need.
Yeah.
Can we
I mean,
talk about the
they
fact
call
that the
themselves
hair
God King.
thing? Can you talk about the fact that the hair thing is called the royal locks? Dude, I have rolled my eyes so hard when I read that.
um,
And biochromat, what? Oh my God, what is it called?
biochromatic energy, is that what it's called?
I mean, it
Yeah,
makes
Or
sense.
biochromatic magic, yeah.
Yeah.
A little corny, just a little.
Well, you know, I mean, the word makes sense though.
It sounds
What?
scientific.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's
what
the thing. It sounds scientific in this like really, medieval setting.
simple way? What's bio mean? What's chromatic mean? I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Wait,
I
you want
get
us to change it and say it in German?
Yeah.
Like,
it.
oh
Uh,
man.
okay, well, do you guys have any? Well, okay, you've already read it. Dylan, do you have any crazy theories about where we're going?
Um, I'm not gonna say a word. I'll save that for for me and MD's
Oh,
section.
our Cosmere connections.
Yeah, our
Yeah,
Cosmere connections.
yeah.
Okay, well, if y'all want to get into that, I mean, do we have anything else to talk about in the first two sections?
Okay, so I'll ask you both each this question, because King Daedalin brought this up. I think he said it in his thoughts. He said, if basically he's sending his daughter over there to basically become a hostage, right? Because this war is inevitable. His general's saying that, and he said he could not see himself folding in order to get Vivenna back. But
He could see himself
Yeah, he
folding.
could see himself.
he could see himself folding to get Vivenna back, but he doesn't say the same about Ciri.
Yeah.
What would you as a king be able to make that decision over being a father?
So
No.
if I'm going to war anyways, like we're just gonna go to war. Like
Yeah,
I get like
exactly.
it's a bad time. Now if it would stop all my people from dying, yeah, I could make that decision. But
Yeah.
like there would have to be like
Concrete. proof
concrete. Yeah,
Right.
it'd have to be like
Yeah, that's my thing. Is like if you know you're going to go to war anyways, but I mean, I get that the delay that he's like aiming for would save some lives, but they're still going to go to
well,
war.
probably not
So like,
anyways because like the God King's obviously powerful enough to rule a fucking empire, and he's got like all these people that can all these awakeners or whatever, and Idris has like you're probably gonna lose. Like
yeah.
I don't see a reasonable way that you win. They were talking about using the mountains and stuff. Like okay, I'll just wait till next summer. Like
Yeah. Well, they also don't have any color in tiny little kingdom. They don't have any color there, so the Awakeners wouldn't be very much use once they got there,
Oh, that's fair.
presumably.
Yeah, I forgot about that because that's why he's kept in that prison that is all gray because he can't use his powers in there or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I can't empathize with that decision. I read that and I got pissed off at Daedalus. I'm just like, you son of a bitch. Yeah, okay. Y'all want to move into your Cosmere tie-ins?
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and kind of like wrap up
End it.
here.
Yeah.
And I'll probably play like the outro music right after this too to give people some time to click away because there's going to be a lot of big spoilers ahead. Yeah, we will cut off if you haven't read the Cosmere, like, or mainly Stormlight is what we're going to be focusing on. Up to Oathbringer and Dawnshard is kind of where Dylan and I are going to kind of talk about just for a little bit. So if you have read those, stick around. But if not, go ahead and click off here right now.
Well, you want to do the share, like, subscribe, follow, and all that?
Oh, yeah. You know, share,
yeah.
subscribe, follow. As always,
We
keep
need more
the YouTube...
fantasy questions.
Yes, we do. And so leave those in the YouTube comments. Keep it spoiler free. Again, so we can just have a good, fun community discussion. And I'll go ahead and tell you where we're going to read to next week. We're going to read, or next week. Next episode will be chapter 2 through chapter 26. So
Chapter 26.
Chapter 26. Okay. That'll give us, I think, some good things, some fun things to talk about. So yeah, stay tuned for some Cosmere spoilers. And yeah.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
See you, Whitson. All right, Dylan. Here we are. The Cosmere connections.
The commands, bro, and I'm surprised Whitson didn't bring those up. I didn't because I was like, I will spoil something. Like I'll talk about Dawnshard.
Right. Okay. So real quick off the top of your head, what are the things that are like connecting in your brain?
Okay, so we got breath. Obviously, we see Wit use breath at the end of Oathbreaker.
Right. So you remember there's like that little girl in an alley, I think.
Yeah.
And he whispered into its ear, I think is what it says. And it
walked.
The doll walked into the alley, or walked towards the girl, and she walked out of the alley. So,
So we've got breath, we've got commands from the end of Dawnshard. We see Reese get, or Reese
risen.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Reese is the Arden. Risen. We see Risen get a command put in her, which I'm wondering how that works because the way it sounded was like everyone could use commands if they had breath. But then we see like one of the big, it says one of the big 4 commands. So maybe there's higher commands, tiers of commands.
Well, and also remember it said it takes more breath to make more things happen.
Right. So maybe like the command that she got was like, maybe it's like something that doesn't require breath. And it's really powerful or something. And then obviously we see the sword.
Nightblood.
Nightblood.
So okay. How do you think Nightblood gets from the world of Warbreaker to Roshar? Do you have any idea?
I have no clue. The only thing I can think of is maybe commands, like something to do with commands. Or doesn't someone say? Well, okay. Obviously, Wit's in the Stormlight world, and he uses breath.
Right.
Maybe Wit takes it over. Maybe there's ways to get back in forth between the worlds. But it gets over there somewhere somehow. And I'm assuming there's another sword because of that's going to show up in this book. Maybe not because the commander from Oathbreaker. I forgot her name again. But she has that.
She's
got that sword.
I think it is.
Yeah, and she's looking for the person that's carrying Nightblood. She wants to get rid of the sword, and she's got like a sword or a shard blade that's like really weird.
Right.
And so maybe it's from this world too.
Okay. Real quick, I'm gonna read something from Dawnshard to you. I'll give you two parts. This is at the very end of Dawnshard. So Risen has just taken in the Dawnshard. She has become the Dawnshard. I don't even know if that's the right verbiage for that or not.
Yeah.
But it says, and Cheery is with her. It says, Cheery Cheery chirped nearby from a set of towels she'd arranged into a nest. She looked so content now and full of color.
Oh.
Skipping ahead further, it says, Storms. Was it her, or did this tea taste extra good? She inspected it, then glanced at the sunlight pouring through the porthole. Was it ...
Right.
brighter
I
than usual?
didn't notice that.
Why did the colors in the room look so exceptionally vivid all of a sudden? And that's
So
it.
she got-
That's the only
she got
mention
breath.
of it.
She got breath.
So does the Dawn Shard have something to do with the breath? Or
Maybe it's a lot of breath. Maybe she. I don't. Well, no, because he says it's over. Vasher says it was overwhelming when he got just a couple hundred breaths.
right.
So we don't see her do that.
Raisin obviously sees a difference, so
Yeah, for sure. So maybe she took in breath.
right.
I didn't even know. Like I didn't even think about that. Like that just slipped through my mind.
Well, that's the thing is Sanderson puts little details like that because
Yeah.
it's just one paragraph. It's just one paragraph in that entire book about it. And so,
That's what when Whitson called his writing style lazy the other day, I about lost my shit. I was like, bro, how can it be lazy? I was like, keep reading the book. Quit
Everything
taking
is
everything at face
intentional.
value. Yes,
Yeah,
everything
yeah,
is
yeah.
intentional.
So would you say that possibly like this Dawn Shard gave Raisin an extra heightening?
Could be. I don't know. I think I need to learn more about the colors, like what colors mean, and like what
Right.
the magic system. I need to learn how breaths work because maybe. Well, he talks about how you need three things. You need command, you need color, and something else. Whoa, what's it say? Breath, color, and command. You
Yeah.
need three things: breath, color, and command. The harmonics and the hues, some called it. The iridescent tones, the relationship between color and sound. A command had to be spoken clearly and firmly in the awakener's native language. Any stuttering, any mispronunciation would invalidate the awakening. So that's interesting too. It has to be in the awakener's native language.
Right. So almost maybe something more about well, honestly, what does that say also about your oath in Stormlight? You have to say that in a way that is true to you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's gotta be personal.
Yeah. Interesting. I just made that connection.
So I'm thinking, like, honestly, like breath seems almost like life force to me, and so maybe like the
Okay.
Dawn Shard, maybe the Dawn Shard is like some like higher life force.
Right. Well, because in a way, it almost gave Cheery Cheery life force back.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you have any other wild connections to make?
Not that it's popping up right on the top of my head. I'm hoping I figure out who Wit is because Matt knows this has been driving me crazy. At one point, I thought he was God. So
Yeah.
maybe we figure out a little bit more about Wit.
Okay. Well, we'll just have to wait until next episode. See what pops up in our book. So, but that's gonna conclude our Cosmere Connection section and episode 3 today. So, I appreciate you all joining in again. Please share, like, subscribe, follow our podcast. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Tell your friends it's a new book. Maybe you can get them to come along and read with you and us. So, yeah, we will see you all next episode for chapters 2 through 26 of Warbreaker.
All right, see you guys.